All right, commissioners, you're live.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Chair Brian Moffitt, and I would like to welcome everyone to the March 12th, 2021 Asheville Downtown Commission. The Asheville Downtown Commission was created by the City Council for the sustainability and continued development of downtown. Our 11 commission members make recommendations to council on downtown policies and initiatives, as well as providing design review for major development projects. All committee members and staff are participating virtually. We appreciate your patience this morning. We are streaming live on our virtual engagement hub, which is accessible through the virtual engagement hub link on the front page of the city website and also linked on our Downtown Commission committee page. We also have an option for the public to listen live by phone. And to everyone attending today, thank you for coming and welcome. At this time, I will call us to order and go through a roll call and introduce the committee members who are participating virtually. Please, committee members, make sure to mute your microphone if you are not speaking. If you have a question, you can unmute or you can raise your hand. And committee members, as I call your name, please say a quick hello. Dane Berringer.
Hello.
Franzi Charin.
Hello.
Andrew Fletcher. Okay. Kimberly Hunter.
Hello.
Good morning. Stephen Lee Johnson.
Hello.
Robin Raines.
Hello.
Gio Rodriguez.
It's Gio, but good morning.
Gio, sorry. Megan Rogers.
Hello.
Okay. Ruth Summers.
Hello.
And representing City Council, Sage Turner.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Thank you, folks. And so to help anyone following along, we will work through our agenda. Our agenda is on the Downtown Commission webpage if you'd like to follow along. At this time, we will go through and approve the minutes of our last meeting, our February meeting. So do we have any corrections or additions to the minutes for the February meeting?
I have one. So my name was misspelled on last month's minutes. It was also misspelled on this month's minutes.
So sorry, I corrected last month's minutes, just so you know. So sorry about that.
I noted this was Summers. I noticed there was something from the minutes that called Megan ex officio. I don't believe she's ex officio, but she's a full member of the commission.
Okay. Any other corrections or revisions? All right. Would someone like to make a motion that we accept the minutes as revised?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as revised.
All right. One of you second it then.
I'll second it.
Perfect. All in favor? Oh, I have to do a roll call vote, don't I? This is fun. All right. I'll go through each person. Dane Berringer.
Aye.
Franzi Charin.
Aye.
Kimberly Hunter.
Aye.
Stephen Lee Johnson.
Aye.
Robin seconded it, and Gio made the motion. So Megan Rogers.
Aye.
Ruth Summers.
Aye.
Sage.
Aye, but I do think you need to roll call them.
I do? Okay. All right. Very good. Then I'll go back through. Robin.
Aye.
Gio.
Aye.
And myself is aye. The motion passes. So with that, we will. So this morning we're going to be looking at our first item will be updates to our 160, our General Statute 160D and the Rules of Procedure. We will also hear from Shannon Tuck on design review process, updates and discussion, and then we will look at our updates and reports and go through our committee meetings. So at this time, I believe Janice Ashley is on to discuss how the new general statute will require some amended rules in our own rules of procedure. And so at the end of this presentation, I think we're going to need to make a motion to accept an amended rules. Janice?
Thank you, Brian. Good morning, Commission members. I'm Janice Ashley. I'm a Senior Assistant City Attorney. I focus on land use and planning matters, among other things, here at the city. And I don't think I advised the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Historic Resources Commission for the legal department. And I haven't been before the Downtown Commission in quite a while, but I have presented to you folks and recognize some people that I've worked with before. And Guillaume is going to be will have to be hearing this similar presentation multiple times and already has, being on the Planning and Zoning Commission as well. But this morning, I'm going to talk to you about a new North Carolina statute 160D, which is it's a statute which clarifies, combines, and replaces what used to be the planning and zoning and development regulations for cities and counties, and combines them all into one, hopefully more organized statute that relates to planning and zoning laws for the state of North Carolina. It was adopted in 2019, went into effect in 2020, June of 2020. But because it can mean big changes to cities' individual unified development ordinances or other parts of their code, the legislature is giving cities until July of this year, 2021, to make any changes to be sure we come into compliance with this new statute. Basically, though, it really is just about organizing and clarifying certain things. There are not many substantial changes to the planning laws through this statute, but because you are a commission or board that focuses on land use and planning development, it is something that you really should be aware of. I have provided in your packet some general information about 160D. And what I think is one of the most helpful pieces that came from the School of Government to help you walk through the changes is that 160D checklist. And so I'm happy to answer at the end of this any general questions you might have. But today we're going to focus on one change that does specifically impact boards and commissions. And that is that boards and commissions planning related and that make planning and development related decisions have a conflict of interest standard that has been broadened from what it used to be. And I think Dana's going to be sharing the screen, and I've updated your rules of procedure, which is where we find your conflict of interest standards. It's not found in the UDO, it's found in individual commissions' rules of procedure. So this is what I'm focusing on, but I've also done, since I went in there, I've done a few cleanups that are not related to 160D in your rules of procedure. But basically what 160D is saying is that boards and commissions now have a standard. Your conflict of interest standard is you should not be voting on a matter in which you have a direct, substantial, and readily identifiable financial impact on you. Now, that has always been the standard to this date for planning-related boards. It has been expanded to say that when you're voting on a zoning-related matter, you should also not have a close familial business or other associational relationship with the applicant or the property owner. It seems it's pretty straightforward. I know that with quasi-judicial boards, they already have this kind of expanded standard. And I have gotten questions in the past from quasi-judicial boards like the Historic Resources Commission on what does that mean? How close? What should I do? And it's often clear, but when it's muddy, it is something that you can check with Dana or Sasha as staff, or they can check with me, because when you're balancing your conflict of interest, you're balancing that with your duty to participate in meetings. And what I used to say to HRC members who often would know a neighbor because they're in the historic district, it sometimes is not clear, and it's best to just disclose it and see if the rest of the board thinks that that's an actual conflict. Because you shouldn't be recusing yourself just because you feel uncomfortable because you kind of know somebody. This is really talking about a close familial business relationship. So that's it. The old statute was 160A 381D, and now it's changed to this 160D 109. And the other changes I made, and I guess I'll stop and see if you have any questions about that conflict of interest standard, and then I can just walk basically through the other few changes I made as cleanups.
Does anyone have any questions for Janice at this time? It's pretty clear. I was usually the one asking her questions on HRC, so she's already coached me through it. Okay, thank you, Janice.
And then Dana, I don't know if you want to scroll through the other changes. I noticed that that I think back at the top, one of the changes was it referred to the Downtown Commission making quasi-judicial decisions. In my time here, which has been 10 years, I do not think that the Downtown Commission has made quasi-judicial decisions. And those are things like variances that would go to the Board of Adjustment, for example. But I think Sasha told me that at one time, the Downtown Commission may have heard certain variances, but now the Planning and Zoning Commission will hear variances, for example, for downtown matters. So that's probably that change. And then the types of hearings, this was just confusing to me, and I don't know how often you focus on these rules. I don't think they'd been updated since 2015, and before that, not since 2009. But this made it seem like you have informal meetings and formal meetings, and really, I thought it's best to just say you have your hearings as you have them, and you shouldn't really call things informal matters or formal matters, because they are both public meetings. They're all public meetings. So I just thought it was not necessary to have that. And then, of course, I cut the quasi-judicial hearings out of there. And then the last thing, which I amended, and Shannon Tuck will be probably speaking more about this in her presentation, is I am aware of the approved change to the Design Review Committee. And so I just went in and put what that approved composition of that committee is. But I understand there might be some more questions about that. And you may want to do further changes to your rules of procedure in that regard. But was just trying to, since you were looking at the rules, try to give you those changes to make as many changes into one meeting so that part's done. So I'm happy to answer any questions about those rules or 160D just generally. Otherwise, that's all.
So you're going to need us to make a motion to adopt the amended rules of procedure as presented during our meeting today, but we're probably going to want to wait until we have that discussion with Shannon regarding the design review process before we do that. Is that correct?
Yes, but maybe for my part, just as in regard to the 160D changes, so that you have a resolution in regard to that. And then if you want to amend them further as a result of your discussion with Shannon,
Okay, that's what I'm asking. If you want us to do this as a two-part motion, we can do the first motion to adopt the specific items relating to 160D, specifically conflict of interest, agenda, and then striking current item 3 under Article F hearings as proposed.
Yes, I think that would be correct.
Okay. See a couple of hands up. Shannon, you have your hand up?
Yeah, just really quickly, Janice, I just noticed in the rewritten language, this is a technical clarification under the design review committee. As you have it written, it kind of sounds like council makes the appointment of the 9th seat from the community at large, and that's not the case. The committee members, once they're appointed, will choose that 9th seat.
Well, do we even need this stuff in there that says city council shall appoint the remainder of the members from?
No, I don't think
Because
so. I
it's-
think we can just say there are 4 members of the commission will serve on this committee. I think
That's all-
that's sufficient.
Agreed.
Right. But right now you're not voting on that part of the rules, right? So
True.
you could probably clarify how you want that to read after the next presentation.
Okay. Okay. Do we have any questions regarding the changes to our rules of procedure, specifically as it relates to General Statute 160D?
I wanted to just say I'm intrigued by the quasi-judicial language, implying that at some point this was a mandatory compliance board, but didn't want that to go unnoticed. It sounded like that, at least. Maybe I heard wrong.
I think once upon a time, I think the commission granted variances or had some influence in variances, and that's a quasi-judicial proceeding. And I think that's probably where that came from, but
Interesting.
it didn't really make sense. Yeah.
Dane, you
Yeah.
had your hand
Yeah, I
up.
was just going to say, we haven't done that at least in the last 8 years, maybe before that, possibly.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was going to say that no, under the statutes, design review has always been mandatory review, voluntary compliance, and that has not changed, and it has not changed with 160D either.
Okay. Well then, would someone like to make a motion that we adopt the changes to the rules of procedure, specifically regarding 160D as proposed?
I move
Ruth's
that we-
hand has been up for a while.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, she didn't put it down from the last time. Ruth, do you need to? There you go. All right. Sorry, Gio. Gio, were you making a motion?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to make a motion that we we approve the 160D with revisions as noted.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Very good. I will go through the roll call then. Dane Berriger,
Aye.
Franzi,
Aye.
Kimberly,
I want to say aye, but I'm not sure what we're voting on. Is it just 160D or is it everything Janice went through?
it is everything Janice went through. So I will go through that to be clear. So that would be under Article 5 meetings, item D, conflicts of interest, the highlighted and marked out items as noted there. Item E, agenda, to insert other business. And then item under hearings, F, sub-article F, to strike the types of hearings so that we only have one type of hearing, which is our meeting. It would be those 3 items as they relate to General Statute 160D.
Okay, so before I say aye or nay, my question is more about the types of meetings. So where would that live? Do you want me to say aye or nay, and then we'll have a discussion?
We can have a discussion in the middle of, well, we've had a motion in a second, but we can.
I think we need to complete this vote before we.
Yeah, we do. Or if you, I apologize. I should have. I thought we should have had more of this discussion prior to the vote. But now that I've opened the vote, I've got to complete the vote. And you can propose an amendment at this point in time to the item as it's on the floor. I'm racking my brain for Robert's rules right now. I apologize. So I think you can either vote A or nay, or yes or no, or propose an amendment. Those are our options right now.
Yeah, I would just say aye with an amendment to the types of meetings.
Okay. What would be the proposed amendment for the types of meetings?
Standard meetings and then working groups.
We would still have.
I believe that still is included in your rules of procedure, but under like committees.
I think so.
You do
Yes,
have a
it
standing committee
is.
section.
Can I get a little point of order here? So we've got a motion on the table that had a discussion and is in voting. We've got an amendment thrown out. We need a motion to make an amendment and a second, and then we can enter discussion on said amendment.
Thank you. Thank you. So we have a motion and a second to adopt it as written. Commissioner Hunter has proposed an amendment to include,
I'll second.
I think, hearings and working groups. Is that?
I'll second
And that's
it.
the
We can
second.
enter discussion.
Okay. Now we can enter the discussion on the amendment. Thank you. Okay. So Commissioner Hunter, you want to make sure. So we have hearings. General, the commission shall conduct hearings on such matters as the city code provides. That's still in there, which could be our normal commission or any other committee or working group as we see fit. We have understanding committees, the design review, rules and nomination, and then under ad hoc, we can basically set up any committee that we see fit and have hearings as it is. So I believe that as it's written, I think that it will accommodate the intent of what I understand you're proposing. Yeah, yes, sir.
I agree. It's already in the language. I don't think it needs an amendment.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's already covered in the document as it stands.
Okay, Robin. Oh, sorry. Any other discussion? Okay, so we will need to vote on this amendment as it stands. Yes, Sage.
I'm sorry. Ms. Hunter, can you confirm that what you were trying to address is actually in the language, or do we need to bring it up on the screen?
Thank you. Both would be great. Thank you.
Janice, do you have yours up still? I just want to see the language.
Dana's handling that
You're
for
sorry.
me.
Whoever's driving, if you could just flash that language and so we could have a visual.
It's at number 3 on page 4, Dana.
Page 4. I love it when it's like page 5 of a document, but the document says it's page 3.
I'm sorry. I guess I didn't update the page numbering.
No, it's not you. It happens all the time in PDFs with like intro sheets. Okay, so
We're looking at the committee section, right? I think that's here. Let me just make sure we're in the right place.
Keep going. No, go back up, Dana. It's section.
We have the ad hoc committees. Is that not what we're, okay.
No, I thought you were looking at the hearings, cutting all the hearings language about informal versus formal, which is Article 5, F 3.
Yeah.
Kimberly, I wonder, it sounds like maybe you are thinking of like if the commission wanted to hold like a work session on a particular topic. No, okay.
is it about the working group language that we've changed committees to? Okay, so the goal being that those working groups can have hearings, because I think the working group move was to get them to be able to meet without all of this productivity and production and stuff, which means then they probably can't vote on things or have hearings because they don't have all this production stuff in public meeting, I think.
Yes.
Is that what you're trying to, okay.
Yes.
So you want the working groups to be back in the committee level, which is a whole different thing.
No, I'm not saying yes or no. I think what I'm questioning, and again, because it's a public meeting and we have people, citizens in our community that watch, and this is a learning moment for all of us, is that it was stated that we didn't have a need to separate the types of meetings. Well, if we're not being clear in this moment of what those meetings mean, if they're all standard, and then when they're not, and why they're not noticed, and why there's no public input, then we're actually doing this whole, in my opinion, this whole process a disservice to actually uplift and amplify the work that we do in this commission, and why some things are highly public and noticed, and why working groups aren't. And that's really the point of me bringing this up, to bring that clarification, because many community members get highly confused, don't know the difference, don't understand why there's a privilege to do one and not the other. So I just want to make sure that if we're using that language, where is it? Why is it there? And, communities more knowledgeable as a result.
I think this language is particular to the commission and it's not to its committees, right? It's just to the commission. Is that right,
Correct.
Janet? Yeah. So then what we probably need to do is, what you're talking about is more language around the difference between working groups and why they're treated differently, and what committees do versus working groups. I imagine that language exists as we went through that process of separating them, and maybe I don't think this is maybe necessarily the right place for it, but I understand your
Well,
point.
I think it's the right moment for me to say something because it's totally related. I understand it's not the matter exactly that we're voting on, but there is a huge distinction, and I just don't want it to get hidden in the process.
And it is a big move to have those working groups and non-public meeting committees. I do think, and I know it was an effort to continue to allow the work to keep happening and under the pandemic rules, but maybe we can do a better job explaining that. Okay, I'm satisfied.
This is, I think I understand what you're saying, Kimberly. What struck me, I mean, I'm sort of just looking at these rules out of just not really focusing on that. But what it struck me as is that it's not correct. For a long time, subcommittees even sometimes forgot, maybe they considered themselves more informal. So they were not meeting the public meetings laws, open meetings laws. And I think when the city started paying more attention to boards and commissions and committees and how things function, that became more clear that subcommittees are public hearings and do need to be noticed and do need to be open to the public. And so I'm sorry, I was not involved in your working group discussion, but if there is a working group, and sometimes in legal, we'd have to look at what tips the scale into how many members are meeting, so it does in fact become an open meeting, subject to the open meetings law. Maybe there is a place to say, now if it's a working group made up of, and it's usually, I think it's less than 3, it's only like 2 members, but it might, if you have that kind of committee and you want to make clear for the public and for yourselves as a commission what that body is able to do, and if it's not subject to open meetings, then I agree with you that should probably be clarified in your rules. But I again was not involved in conversations you've had in the past about working groups, and maybe the staff understands that better, and maybe we could look at the rules again, and I can help with that to clarify.
As it's currently written, and even as we are currently amending it, there are no working groups under the rules of procedure. There's only the Downtown Commission and its committees, and the Downtown Commission and its committees are all subject to the public meeting laws as it's currently written, and even as we're messing with it. So we should not be having design review meetings or any other subcommittee meetings that are not open to the public, and we abide by these rules. That's the way I understand it. I know that we've talked about working groups and stuff, and part of that's a pandemic, but that's not the way these rules are written. Dana?
I think it's a really good point, and my understanding is that we're heading in a direction to allow the opportunity for more informal type working groups. I think we might need to take a closer look at this and come back at a later date to get that language right, because I think we need to reconcile with the direction that our city clerk's office is sending us. And Janice, we had a discussion at last month's meeting about transitioning a couple of the existing standing committees to informal working groups. And so I think it's a great point, Ms. Hunter, and I think that that we should get this right.
So Kimberly, I'm not looking for a unanimous thing. I would rather, could we approve the language that we currently have that would leave all the just basically we're the downtown commission and we work by committees and there are no working groups, and then let staff and legal counsel work on the working group language and amend that later?
Absolutely. That's a great idea.
Okay.
There's not a huge rush on this. So if it makes sense to just kind of, because I know we're going to also talk probably about the design review committee piece. So maybe the commission would like to just sort of table this while we address these different things, and then we'll just come back at a later date and just kind of do the whole thing, hopefully all tidied up. That would be fine.
I think it would be fine, Shannon, except, we're trying to check off our boxes of 160D, and I'm trying to go through all the different committees. I'll have like 6 other committees to get this, at least say, okay, we've done this for 160D, which I realize is not absolutely have to happen until July, but
well, if we're not going to get everything
done. As
done,
far as the 160D change, I would hope that could stay.
Sage, you have your hand up.
I'm happy. It feels weird to not be chair and make motions. I'm happy to make a motion. I'm jesting, sorry. I'm happy to make a motion to return to to strike the amendment, to approve the changes and add a request for the city staff to come back with language around working groups.
Okay, so
I'd need a second.
Yeah, I know. But so we have an original motion. We have a motion to amend.
Right now.
We have an original motion, a motion to amend. So what we would do is we could just defeat the motion to amend, and then you could make that amendment, or we could just complete the motion. We'll have a separate motion to do the staff to do the working groups. How does that sound? All right. So I'm going to do the motion, the motion to amend, and I'm going to do a roll call. Do y'all know what we're doing? Let me go through that again. We have an original motion, all right, to accept the language as written. We have an motion to amend that I'm going to go through a roll call. I think we can strike that, approve the original motion, and then we'll have someone make a second motion to instruct staff to work on working group language. Everybody know what we're doing? Very good. I'm going to do
awesome.
that.
Thanks, Brian.
Okay. So I'm going to go through the roll call on the motion to amend. Dane Berger.
Nay.
Franzi Charon. You need me to go through it again? Okay. Yeah, there you go. Commissioner Fletcher's not here. Commissioner Hunter.
Aye.
Kimberly. Okay. Stephen Lee Johnson.
Nay.
Robin.
Nay.
Gio.
Nay.
Megan. That's great. Commissioner Summers.
Nay.
Okay. Sage.
Nay, and that's
And I'm nay. Okay, so that motion does not carry. So we're back to the original motion, and I think I had done Commissioner. I had done Dane, Franzi, and I had gotten to Kimberly. Is where Dane had said yes, Franzi had said yes, and now we're back to Commissioner Hunter on the original motion?
Nay.
Thank you. Stephen Lee,
Aye.
Robin,
Aye.
Gio,
Aye.
Megan,
Aye.
Ruth,
Aye.
Sage.
This is our only opportunity to amend with a staff coming back right now, but I can.
Oh, I think we can do a separate motion.
Okay, aye.
And myself will vote aye. So it carries with 1 nay. Very good. So at this time, if you'd like to make a motion requesting that staff review language regarding working groups and make recommendations to revise the rules of procedure to allow and clarify the use and the proper legal use and proper requirements for working groups, this would be a good time to do so. Anyone want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Very
Do I have to
good.
say all those things again?
I'll second it. I mean, we can-
Okay, I just don't want to have to say those things.
Okay, very, very
Okay.
good. All right, Robin made it. We have a, Sage, you still have your hand up. You good? Okay. All right. The motion is made by Commissioner Rains and seconded by Sage Turner. Everybody understand that motion? Very good. Commissioner Barringer?
Aye.
Commissioner Charon?
Aye.
Thank you. Commissioner Hunter?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Rains?
Aye.
Yeah. Commissioner Rodriguez?
Aye.
Commissioner Rogers?
Aye.
Commissioner Summers?
Aye.
And Council Lady Turner?
aye.
And I am an aye. Very good. Yay, team. All right. I think I know what we're doing. Janice, does that take care of what you needed from us for today?
Yes, for today. Sounds like I've made some more work for me for next time, but look forward to talking to you about those other changes.
Very good. Thank you. Okay. I believe our next item of business, new business, is a presentation of the design review process, updates, and a discussion by Shannon Tuck.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to share my screen, and I just want to remind the commission that when I share my screen, I cannot see faces. So if there's something about what I'm presenting on or saying that doesn't make sense, or there's a burning question, please go ahead and stop me, but audibly. So you'll have to unmute yourself and ask me the question or ask me to stop and clarify something. So give me just one moment and I will start the presentation. And if somebody could let me know that if you could see my screen.
We can.
Great, thank you. So good morning, everybody. Thank you for setting aside a little bit of time for us to talk about this, the new design review process. I believe I've met everybody, or I've been before you all before, and but just to maybe connect some dots for you, as I've appeared before the commission over the years, you've probably already noticed that it's usually in association with development. So it might be a development project, it might be development guidelines or standards, it might be related to the development review process. But that is part of my role here at the City of Asheville. Is I'm the division manager for the development and design review group here in the Planning and Urban Design Department. So I both participated as a team member on the initiative regarding the new hotel standards, as well as being the manager for the division that will manage the new design review process and work with that design review committee. So in discussing this new process, I wanted to just first start with some design review related goals. Our goals related to design review primarily come from the Living Asheville Comprehensive Plan, and there's multiple references throughout the plan that refer to design review. There's also a report from the Urban Land Institute, and this was a report that was commissioned by the city a number of years ago. And this report was more specifically about hotels, but it included recommendations regarding design and design review. So these two documents kind of give us our direction and our marching orders. And very plainly, the three main goals were improving design in the built environment. And really kind of falling under that goal is prioritizing updates to the design guidelines and then strengthening, formalizing, and streamlining the design review process. So as we embarked on this hotel initiative, we realized as we looked at ways to kind of incorporate design review for hotel development projects, that there was an opportunity to potentially move a little closer to some of these design review related goals. As you all know, the hotel amendment was adopted last month, February 23rd, and it added development requirements and design guidelines for hotels, and it updated the design review process at the same time. So the new design review process kind of centers around a new standing design review committee. And it really, what we've done is we've collapsed the two design review subcommittees, one that belonged to the Downtown Commission and one from the Riverfront Commission, into one standing committee. There are 9 members in total, the majority of which shall have demonstrated special interest, experience, or education in any number of a design-related field. I want to pause here for just a moment to say the statement's very purposeful. We want to ensure that the Design Review Committee has some design expertise, but also keep it open and flexible enough to ensure that we can have equitable representation on this new committee. So there's more to design than just having that degree, and there's more perspectives and things that we need to think about when contemplating design. So we were very purposeful in this requirement. Of those 9 members, City Council will appoint 8 of them, 4 coming from the membership of the Downtown Commission and 4 coming from the Riverfront Commission. The 9th seat, that last seat, is actually appointed as a sort of a member at large from the general community, member at large, but by the seated members of the committee. So that's the one seat that I think if you feel like there's a gap in expertise on the commission, or a gap in representation, or a gap in perspective, that you can kind of purposefully look for people who kind of fill that void for that 9th seat. So the existing commissions, through this design and this structure, the existing commissions, the Downtown Commission and Riverfront Commission, retain some involvement in design issues, primarily through that committee representation. So almost half of the members on this new committee will be members of the Downtown Commission, and then similarly the Riverfront Commission. There is also the opportunity to provide some input to staff through the review process, and I'm going to go over that in a little bit more detail in just a moment. So a few things that I just want to remind the commission of is about a little over a week ago, you all should have received an email explaining that the clerk's office is now receiving applications for the new design review committee appointments. They will continue to receive and accept those applications through March 19th. So if this is something you could potentially be interested in, I would really encourage you to get that application in if you haven't already. It would be great to have a number of people interested. Those applications will be reviewed by the Committee on Boards and Commissions on April 13th. This is a subcommittee of the City Council, and then they will make their recommendations to the larger council, who will then make their appointments on April 27th. And those appointed members will serve on the Design Review Committee concurrent with their commission terms. So this way it helps ensure that we don't lose a lot of people at one time, and we can have sort of staggered appointments and kind of maintain most of the seats as we need. So just to talk briefly about the former design review process, I probably don't need to really spend much, if any, time on this, but it begins with the staff review, of course. Then there is a presentation to the design review subcommittee of whichever respective design review area we're discussing at the time. And then the subcommittee will make their recommendations to the larger commission. And then, of course, the applicant and the staff, make their presentation to the larger commission, and then the commission is the one who votes on the project. Now, if this is a project that has more steps in the entitlement review process, it might go to the Planning and Zoning Commission or City Council, then those recommendations get carried forward through that process. The new design review process is a similar three-step process, and again, starting with staff review, but instead of going to the subcommittee for the second step, there's going to be a staff presentation to the larger commission, to the whole commission. And the commission can then provide feedback to the staff, and that will be shared with the design review committee as that third step. And then the design review committee will be the one to vote on the project. And again, just in the former slide, if this project is a larger project that is continuing through the process, then that recommendation gets carried forward. So how this fits into the larger development review process, this is a very simplified, linear version of that review process, starting with the application. Then you have that staff review, then the presentation to the commission. And
Shannon, just 1 second. I need to pause you. Gia,
Sure.
Go ahead. You're muted, Gia.
Okay. After the design review commission finishes their work, will it go automatically to planning or straight to council?
the design review committee, it depends on what kind of project we're discussing. So if it's a level 2 project, a downtown level 2 project, this ends at the Planning and Zoning Commission. So the design review committee's recommendation would be carried to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and it would end there. If it is a level 3 or a conditional zoning, it's going to go all the way to City Council. And if that's the case, the recommendation will be carried to both the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. So the other thing, so that's, Gio's question kind of finished half of what I was going to say about this particular slide. We kind of moved through a similar process. It just kind of flips the role of the design review committee and the downtown commission. So it's the commission will review the project first. If they have design review related feedback, that will be carried to the design review committee, and then that committee evaluates the project and makes a recommendation that gets carried on in the process. One thing I want to point out about this slide is we recognize that the purview of both the Downtown Commission and the Riverfront Commission is much broader than just design review. You may have additional thoughts or feedback that you want to provide related to other things. It could be community compatibility or climate change or business vitality or economic development. Now, all of that feedback will similarly be carried forward. It's just going to be channeled a little bit differently. If you have that kind of feedback, it's going to be taken directly to the Planning and Zoning Commission rather than filtered through another body first. And that more or less completes my summary of this new process. I think I had purposely kept it kind of brief so that we could reserve some time for just open discussion or other questions. I will just add that we did meet yesterday. I did the same presentation with the Riverfront Redevelopment Commission, and we had a good conversation there. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's some similar feelings and thoughts about this new process. They, generally speaking, I think it's fair to say they express some concern and frustration over feeling like they're not being listened to or heard either by staff or city council, that these, they remained confused as to why their recommendation to not split off design review wasn't followed. And there was also some concern about what this might mean for those representatives who are serving both on the General Commission as well as this design review committee. Like, is that too much work for an individual? Because while we do have committee members who currently kind of perform both roles, we are talking about a larger design review area, so that could increase the amount of projects that are being evaluated. So, what does that mean to workload? Our simple answer to that is like, we're just not really sure. We are still in a process of evaluating this process. We had to start somewhere. This is kind of where we thought would be a good place to start. If we discover that the workload is too much, or we can't fill the seats for whatever reason, then we have already committed to a 6-month review and evaluation of these new changes. And if we need to reconsider something at that time, we certainly will. But we think this is a good way to begin, and we hope to see some of you on this committee, and look forward to working with anybody who is up for the challenge.
Kia.
Shannon, it's in my understanding, because we have now 2 separate design review functions in different commissions, then we have just maybe 1 staff person who will be taking on these chores and then throwing in the hotel, or will all 3 or 2 existing staff people continue to play their roles?
Well, certainly there'll be multiple staff involved. But you are correct in that we do think that this will be a more efficient process. By collapsing these 2 groups into one, it allows us to kind of pool our resources a little bit and concentrate those resources. It also helps us formalize this group. So they will have a regular meeting schedule. We'll be able to have a dedicated webpage to them. We'll be able to post their meeting materials and agendas, just like we do with a lot of our more formal boards and commissions. So we think that this is also a good way to kind of share information with the broader community if people are interested. And if we're still meeting remotely in May, we'll be broadcasting just like we are this commission, and people can tune in and participate remotely as well. So.
Dane.
Yeah, my question is about the process, Shannon. So all level 2 and level 3 projects in the downtown and in the River Arts area will go through this process, but I thought that also all hotels outside of those areas will also go through this process. Is that correct?
That is
okay.
Correct, yes.
Okay, that's what I just want to make sure.
Robin.
My question is about the makeup. I was wondering if there had been any thought into including more than just one person not on the 2 committees, because right now, there are more people that are not on the committee on the design reviews. And I feel like if it is a huge workload, it might be good to have a 3-3-3 breakdown or something like that.
We did. And in fact, our initial recommendation was the 3-3-3. I think there was some interest in trying to strengthen the commission's respective representation on the committee. That kind of shifted the balance a little bit to the 4-4-1. But that's a very good example of what might need to be reconsidered and at the 6-month mark. So if we find that the workload is too much, if we do find it's difficult for people, then that's certainly something that can be reconsidered.
I also think there's a greater pool to grab from if you use 3-3-3. Not that all of us aren't fantastic candidates, but if you want it to be design focused, there might be a bigger pool to grab from.
Absolutely. The Riverfront members, one of the Riverfront members made the comment that, they were a little concerned because some of their design guidelines have to do more specifically with the landscape. And at this particular point in time, they don't have a landscape architect on their on their commission. And so they were a little concerned, like, what if we don't have that kind of expertise? And so we did remind them that we do have this one seat. So
Yeah.
if we find that there's a gap of that nature, then that would be something we would want to communicate, and explain, and maybe that's something you want to try to fill. We also let them know that we do have landscape architects on the downtown commission, and, we could end up with those professionals on the committee,
And Stephen Lee.
one way or the other. So,
And they were so relieved by that.
yeah.
And I'll tell y'all, I mean, same thing I told Riverfront because I'm their liaison, but I'm new to their board and really acclimating. This is something I have personally pushed for, and staff are being really nice because I gave them a hard time about it. But if this needs to change, let's talk about it. I know council really looked to me for advice because I had been a part of this process so much. And I was hearing from both bodies that they wanted, they were upset about losing the review process. And we saw this as there were also counselors concerned about being twice removed from the body that would start to review these hotels during such a transition period. So I think, there's room to test this. There's room. We're definitely coming back in 6 months with what could be better. And I think that's what Shannon's alluding to. So let's watch and let's see, and just let's keep in touch because I'm happy to bring it back if it needs to change. And yeah, that's all.
Sasha, you have your hand up.
Hi, yes, good morning. I just wanted Shannon, if you could talk, I could talk about it, but one major change that happened with this that I didn't hear you say, so forgive me if you did, was that the definition of major works in downtown now will include level ones. Did you talk about that?
I didn't. I'm sorry.
So we've had some frustrations in the community that our design review was not looking at level ones, and we've been kind of waiting for when we could make that change. So that change got made, and since we talked about it 8 months ago, I'd completely forgotten about it until the ordinance passed. But it means anything that's 1,500 square feet or greater will get reviewed. So for example, we've had some a building, I don't know what's happened to it, but near the Basilica that got reviewed. Things like that will be going to this committee. So even though they're not going to planning and zoning or the council, that's a great change because it really will, even though it's still voluntary compliance, it will put more pressure on getting better design out of these projects. So, and Shannon, if you want to talk about those nuances around, you're better at that, around historic buildings and substantive changes.
So a minor work is very broad. It's anything that requires a building permit, a zoning permit, basically, if you need a permit, it's classified as a minor work when it falls within these design review areas. Major works get pulled aside when it's an addition or a new structure that's over 1,500 square feet or 500 square feet if it's a historic structure, or any changes that substantially change the appearance or structure of the facade or roof line, and significant changes to sites. So if you're totally paving a new site, or it's a road redesign or anything like that, that would also be a major work. So it will increase what comes before. This is more or less the standard for the Riverfront Commission. So it shouldn't trigger too many more reviews in their design review area. But as Sasha said, it would increase the reviews in the downtown area.
Does that mean that level ones are going to come to the downtown commission before they go to the design review as well?
Yeah, but it can be just a short presentation. It doesn't necessarily have to be a big drawn out thing, or it could, we could decide that maybe level ones can just be sort of a quick summary update. We had 3 projects that were level ones and, at these locations, something like that. But that's another thing that we can, kind of explore and feel our way through, like what works best for everybody involved.
Okay. I've got a couple of thoughts. So I've watched this process kind of walk through. We've just been discussing this as part of HRC, and then as part of Downtown Commission, and as part of the design review. I actually like the idea of allowing the Downtown Commission and the River Arts Commission to address both design and any other issues that they want to, and then just let a dedicated design review commission, beat the steam out of them in a specific technical kind of a meeting, and then it moves forward. So I kind of like it's not. I've heard people talk about that they don't like that it's uncoupling these things. I don't actually see it that way. I see it. We still get to do as Downtown and River Arts. You still can bring up any design issues you want to. And you actually can bring up any of those issues that you want to, and make sure that the design review committee that they have a good answer for it. So anyway, are there any other questions or comments for Shannon at this time? Dane?
Yeah, I have a question about the guidelines. So we have guidelines for the downtown, which are not really complete. They're like maybe 75% complete. I'm not familiar with what guidelines the Riverfront Commission has, but as far as I know, there are no guidelines for the rest of the city at all. So what kind of guidelines is this new committee going to be using for reviewing projects?
Well,
So they will use, sorry.
Go ahead, Shannon. Yeah, you know it
So
better than me.
They will use the design guidelines that are in place for those design review areas. So as you mentioned, downtown has theirs, Riverfront has theirs, and we did adopt design guidelines related to hotels for the newest design review area, which is the Hotel Overlay District. So now they're a placeholder. They're a starting point. We do not expect these guidelines to be the end all be all for hotels. We all also recognize that there is significant interest in updating both the downtown and the river design review guidelines. And our hope is that by having this dedicated design review body, that we will have some pooled expertise and we will have some interest and motivation to start to tackle that. Just like downtown projects, design projects, the Downtown Commission and the Riverfront Commission will be able to also weigh in on whatever new guidelines get presented or considered. But we think that this body, this new design review committee, is a good place to kind of really start to look at that and see, how we could start to move the needle, because we have been asking for resources for these updates for quite some time, as you all well know, and we just have not been successful. So we're trying to just sort of be in charge of our own destiny and try to figure out a way that we can maybe start to make progress on some of this.
Sage, you have your hand.
Only to share that yesterday's Riverfront Commission discussed how in the uprising of the river, we had there were several main leaders that raised money to revitalize and start activity, and the idea came up that we can actually raise money to do these guidelines if we can't afford it. Like, there might be some folks, Riverside folks, there might be the county and the city to chip in a little, just an idea that they got a little brainstorming around, could we do this in more of a grassroots way, just to plant that seed.
Okay. That's consistent at HRC. A lot of times the neighborhoods are the ones that would bring any required amendments to their own design guidelines. So that's pretty consistent with doing that. And having served on Historic Resources Commission, that is a reviewing design. We had 3 historic districts with 3 very, very different design guidelines that you had to apply to each one. So we've got folks in the city that have been doing that kind of task for a while. Okay, any other questions? So then, therefore, we have a in your packet, or maybe Dana can bring it up at some point. We have the redlined in our Downtown Commission rules a revision under Article 6, Subarticle A, Standing Committees, Item 1, Design Review Committee, to remove that Design Review Committee and put in language about that the City Council shall appoint 4 members of the Downtown Commission to serve on the city's Design Review Committee. And I actually would leave it at that. I would strike that second sentence, because I don't think we need to have in our procedures what we want city council to do with the riverfront. And I think, Shannon, you would like us to vote, or the expectation is that we would vote on that change today. Is that correct?
If you all feel comfortable doing so, and I would agree with that edit. I don't think we need that additional language. And similarly, when we update the rules of procedure for the Riverfront Commission, it'll have a similar statement, but swapping out Riverfront instead of Downtown Commission. So,
okay. Okay. So does everyone understand that this edit would remove the standing subcommittee of design review for the Downtown Commission, and would therefore put in language that consistent with our current UDO for the design review committee, would therefore we would, and this is city council shall appoint the 4 members of the Downtown Commission to serve on the design review committee. I want to make sure you understand that we don't get to select the 4 that go to that, but the council does. Franzi, you have your hand up.
Yeah, in that same vein, the 1 member from the community at large, city council, I'm understanding, is going to select that 1 member, but previously, no,
the commission, it's so someone jump in if I get this wrong, but the city council selects 4 from the Downtown Commission. The city council selects 4 from the Riverfront Commission, and then those 8 folks select someone from the community at large. Is my understanding.
That is correct. And Franzi, you're correct also that the way this is written, that red language kind of makes it sound like council does it, which was why I commented on that earlier. That Janice kind of at the last minute put this language in, so I hadn't had an opportunity to review it before she presented it to you all this morning. So another reason why I don't think we need to include that additional language.
Okay. Janice?
We had even had a discussion, Shannon and I, about whether this needed to be in there at all, even refer to the design review committee. So I guess I thought that because you do have members, it might be worth that reference, even if it is shortened to that one, the first sentence. But I guess you could consider whether you need to put it there at all in your rules.
I think it clarifies that's there is a function, there's a communication between the two. So I would literally just have that first sentence in there. I don't even know that I would have the other 2 sentences, but that's me. Franzi, you have your hand.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
it just seems like if we are going to be part of the selecting committee of that 1 member from the community at large, it seems like there should be some language in there.
So sorry if that's confusing. The commission doesn't choose it. The new committee. So
Right. Okay, and this is about the commission. Okay.
Right. And these rules are about the commission.
Got it.
Yes.
Sorry. Thank you.
If I could take this moment to just ask, like, I don't know what the commission thinks, and Janice, what you think, if it's appropriate to clarify here that the terms of 4 members of the committee, and that they will serve concurrent with their terms on that committee. If that would be a good clarification or not.
I guess you can see what was cut from there. What was there before did talk about the terms, and we've had some discussion about whether this committee, which is really a subcommittee of 2 commissions, it should have its own rules of procedure, and they can. And I don't know what direction we're going in as far as that goes, Shannon. But I think
will.
it's really up to you all.
Yeah, they will have their own rules of procedure. I just, and it will be clarified there as well, but I just didn't know if it was helpful to clarify it here too. But maybe it's just overkill.
Sage, you have your hand up. Okay. All right. Any other questions for this item right now? Are you folks ready to vote on this, or do you want to see what the actual revised language is going to be before you vote on it. And Shannon, do you, how important is it for us to vote on this today?
Well, it just would be helpful. It would give Janice a little bit more more content when she adopts this or takes
yes.
these new rules of procedure to, it just helps kind of clarify that we have this change. And then if later there's another change related to working groups, it would just be a smaller change.
Okay.
And in terms of the new language, I mean, maybe just forget what I said about clarifying the term limits, and that way you can just clearly see that it would just be we could just reduce this to just the first sentence after design review committee.
Okay. Is there any other discussion we need to have at this time? Do you folks understand the what's being proposed? Okay. Then is there someone willing to make a motion?
I will make a motion that we accept the new design review committee as proposed. I think, is that enough, Shannon?
Limiting it to maybe perhaps just the first sentence.
That the city council shall adopt 4 members of the downtown commission to serve on the city's design review committee. City council shall appoint the remainder of members from the Asheville Area Riverfront Redevelopment Commission, 4 members, and 1 member from the community at large.
Did you mean to put in that second sentence, Gio?
Well, I kind of saw the two as similar, so please feel free to edit.
I think our recommendation is just to stop at the end of the first sentence and not worry about, having to state that council makes the appointments, or that's actually in the UDO. So it's really just about your rules of procedure that this commission will have 4 members who serve on this committee.
Because we're only dealing with this commission at this time.
Yeah.
Therefore,
exactly.
my motion is that we accept the design review committee. The city council shall appoint 4 members of the downtown commission to serve on the city design review committee.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, very good. At this time, I'll go through, if I can find it. There we go. So I'll call your name, and please indicate how you will vote. Commissioner Berger?
Aye.
Commissioner Charon?
Aye.
Commissioner Hunter?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Rains?
Aye.
Commissioner Rodriguez?
Aye.
Commissioner Rogers?
Aye.
Commissioner Summers?
Aye.
Council Representative Turner?
Aye.
And myself as an aye. The motion carries. Okay, very good. Thank you, Shannon. I appreciate that. And thank you for everybody walking through that with us.
Thank you all very much.
We're running a little behind, but we're doing okay. At this time, we'll talk about our updates and reports. So again, thank you to everyone who worked so hard on our Friday meeting a couple of weeks ago to work on our annual report. The completed and updated annual report is available for your review in the reference on our agenda. I don't know that I need to go through anything else on that at this time. Dana, jump in if you think so. And there is also a link to the city manager presentation to City Council on February 23rd regarding reparations. Do we need to discuss that as a commission at this time? Has everyone had a chance to look at that? Seeing general agreement. Okay.
I'll just chime in briefly if I could. We just wanted to offer that since I know there was a good amount of discussion at the February 26th meeting about urban renewal and reparations. And so I think this presentation is really helpful, and it's very recent in the city's approach to establishing a reparations committee. And I'm sure there'll be opportunities in the future for further information to be provided to you all. But I think this is the appropriate update at this time.
Very good. Thank you. before I move on to the Asheville Downtown Association, I needed to back up just a little bit. I apologize. Everyone should have received an email from Dana, or I think it was from Dana, regarding the new design review commission. Shannon mentioned a couple of dates. We need to, if you would like to serve on the new design review committee, you need to have your application in by March 19th. And if anyone has not received that or doesn't know what we're talking about, please contact either me or Dana or both, and we'll make sure you get the appropriate application. Okay, and so at this time, Asheville Downtown Association.
I think Gio has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Gio.
Mr. Chair, do we have 4 design professionals on? I'm not familiar with everyone. I know Stephen Lee and I are landscape architects. You're an architect. Who else?
I'm an architect.
Great.
Robin's a better architect
Thanks,
than me,
Robin.
so yes.
That's true.
Okay, well, so we've got that covered. Thank you.
Yes, but I'd also like to make it clear that the while the language in the new UDO, you just need a special interest in. So anyone, honestly, on this commission can apply, and if you are at all interested in applying, then please do. Sorry, Megan. Yes, thank you.
So just a little update from the Downtown Association. We hosted our annual State of Downtown update a couple weeks ago with presentations from us, from Mayor Mannheimer and Commission Chair Newman. And I think the biggest takeaways from that were that, there are 17 businesses in danger of closing due to COVID-related impacts, and then the hundreds of decreases in jobs. We don't know if there were subsequent increases in those for other businesses, so take those numbers as you will. You can find a recording of that and a summary of the survey results that we presented on our website at ashevilledowntown.org. We are also in the midst of, we've extended all of our memberships to our current members, and through the month of March, we're actually offering free memberships to any businesses in the downtown area. So if you know anyone who sort of like an intro membership, give us a try, see if we can help. It's just a small gesture of support that we can offer to businesses as they rebuild and recover. And then, there's a lot of good news happening on the vaccine rollout. So I'm tentatively planning for some events to possibly return in maybe July or August. It's hard to plan when there are so many unknowns, but I think that we're going to be able to see some of those community events return. And I've said this a couple of times, but I'm committed to, we always hire as many local service providers as we can. We hire only local food vendors. I'm also committed to having all local musicians and bands at least this year, maybe even into next year. We'll see how it goes. So, hopefully we can gather again sometime soon. And that's about it.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions for Megan?
Thank you, Megan.
Yo.
Megan, I noticed that Strong Towns, I thought they were saying they were headed this way. Is that something that your organization is sponsoring?
No, but I would love to be a part of that. We've had Chuck and his group here a couple of times, I think.
Right. They're always very informational, but I kind of noticed there's someone heading our way, and I thought, since you in the past have sponsored that, if you had any information, but I always look forward to their presentations.
Yeah, me too. I'll look into it. We'll find out.
Very good. Franzi, local business leaders.
We did not have a February meeting, so no big updates from us.
Okay. And the parking and transportation working group. Is there anything going on with that? Parklets, fun stuff.
I wanted to go ahead. I wanted
to chair that role or that board, or
we didn't quite get to that at the last meeting. I think that's up to you all if you want to structure that to have a chair. I think it would be really good at least to have a spokesperson, which we didn't quite get to that point at the last meeting.
Quick update. Megan may want to chime in as well. We did meet. We talked mostly about two critical issues. You may remember one was needing new equipment at the parking deck entry, so the place where you pay. Ours are outdated, not supported, I believe, anymore. They were already due for an update. The problem is these new ones are not accepting coins, and that is both an access issue, I believe, but also our parking rates are not in whole dollar increments. So we have a coin acceptance or increment accepting problem. So the recommendation from the staff was to increase the cost of parking. I believe it was from $1.25 for first hour free, but if you're 61 minutes, you pay $2.50, $1.25 an hour. And they were recommending going to $2. I know Megan, as the downtown association leader, and myself too, are both concerned about raising the cost of parking during this time. So that's on the table. Perhaps should come to the commission, or I'm not sure. That's the update.
Okay. Any comments or questions from the commission on that issue?
I'll just
Megan?
make a comment that, parking is almost always the number one concern raised by downtown business owners. And it was, again, on the most recent survey that we did. I know our parking rates are probably a little lower than similar cities, but we've done a lot over the last couple of years to sort of do some increases. Loading zones, first hour free has changed. My gut feeling is that this would be a negative reaction from our downtown business owners who just feel like parking is consistently made more difficult and more expensive. That's a gut feeling. I don't know that for sure, but I think it's probably correct.
Agreed. Okay.
I should add there were also additions to the length of the time of day that meters might change. So that came up too.
Wow.
The recommendation is that these changes just come before this group.
Agreed. Gia?
Sage, I was wondering, has any recommendation been given to maybe lower fares for local people?
This question comes up a lot, and we brought it up because, this is a critical fact. I'm going to tell you something that's going to blow your mind. We had a 600-person wait list for these parking decks for a long time, right? Guess what? We now have 200 open spaces, and everybody on the wait list has been called. We have never had this problem. So we now have extra parking spaces, and we talked about doing something the Go Local group had done in 2017, which was getting some potentially parking passes to give out to local businesses or locals to use. However, legislatively or regulatory, whatever you want to refer to it as, we're not able to create different parking tiers for people based on where they live. So we can't just say, if you live here, you don't have to pay more. So this is more of a backdoor way to kind of utilize some empty spaces at the minute, and it would have to go to council and be approved. So it's not that simple.
Okay. Any other questions for the Parking Transportation Working Group? Thank you.
Do call all your, residents that live downtown and let them know they can grab a space if they want to right now.
Yeah. Indeed. Downtown update report.
All right. Good morning, everybody. I will ask our transportation department if they can come to you all and with their updated proposal. The initial conversation, I think, was really helpful for them to hear. So I don't have a lot of updates today. Want to make you all aware of a few things. We are, we're seeing the weather warm up, and we're gonna push out some communications soon to remind businesses and organizations that they continue to have the opportunity to temporarily expand outdoors. So we're continuing all of those temporary initiatives for the foreseeable future, and help us get the word out about that. We had about 90 businesses already participating. And the budget process is underway for the coming year. So you'll see in your report, I highlighted just some upcoming dates on that. There are council work sessions, and I've also put the dates of when the city manager will be presenting the proposed budget to city council. There will be public input opportunities before that budget gets proposed to council. Staff is approaching the budget differently this year and really focusing on advancing racial equity through what's being proposed in the budget. So look out for more public engagement opportunities on that. I'll make sure to send you all that information when I can, but just want you all to be aware of the budget process. Also, just flagging that staff will be providing some information to council on March 23rd regarding removal of the Vance Monument, and City Council will direct staff on next steps. So just flagging that March 23rd date for you all there. And that's pretty much what I have. Just reminding everybody that remote meetings continue, and the city's engagement hub on public input is a great place to find all of the meetings and to find any surveys that are available to the public. I'm always happy to answer any questions.
Yeah.
Dana, I was wondering, in that process of removing and replacing the Vance Memorial, I know that the existing committee will be making some recommendations. Have you thought about what kind of professional expertise should go into redesigning that space if that is the direction that they want?
I don't know the full scope of what's being presented to council on March 23rd, but staff is awaiting clear direction from City Council on next steps. And I don't know, Sage, if you want to chime in with any other context on that, but I think we can all kind of look for March 23rd and what council wants to do.
Okay. A quick question as regarding COVID and remote meetings. What are the thresholds? Has staff have you gotten any direction on what the benchmarks and thresholds would be for going back to live meetings? What does that look like? I mean, obviously, state of emergency lifted, but then what?
That's a really great question. I'm thinking it might be a good idea to have our city clerk's office attend the next meeting as we talk through some more of the details with the working groups, first committees, and get that right. And that might be a good opportunity to get updated information from them on that front as well, because I'm not aware of how that's going to be handled. But
okay.
Great question.
Very good. Okay. Well, we did not have any public comment. If we need to have any informal discussion, so I noted for future agenda items, that we would like Transportation Department to come and speak to us regarding revisions to the parking rates, parking equipment. And actually, I think that's all I have currently. To Gio's question, we'll probably all watch the March 23rd, and then if we have any questions regarding the specific design process that they're going to adopt for the Vance Monument, we may request that as well. Right now, we are not scheduled to meet April 9th unless there's critical business. Our next meeting would be May 14th. Any other items informally that we need to discuss or put on the future agenda? I've got 1 minute, y'all. Go ahead, Dana.
I'm just going to say, I think it may be likely that we'll meet in April with the parking stuff going on and with the changes to the rules of procedure. It seems likely. So.
Okay. So the applications were for the design review committee. We're going to go to council on April 27th. So that would be after that meeting anyway. Okay. I'm curious, does anyone know, the level 1 thing took me by surprise, if they're going to start coming to us. Do you know when that's going to start?
I think that would start now. So there might be some things to look at the next meeting. And again, it'll be brief, and it'll be information presented by staff So so we'll see what that looks like for the next meeting.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, Sasha may have comments. Hey, Sasha.
Hi. I do think that sorry, I had YouTube open. The 4 Points Sheridan project will be at technical review on April 5th. So if you all are meeting on April 9th, that may be the right date for you all to see that project and give input on it. It wouldn't be going to the new design review committee until May, but that way, you know, that actually would be kind of, since it's such a massive project, it'd be a good time for them to absorb your comments and before they go to the design review committee.
So
I don't know of
gonna-
any level ones right now in downtown that have submitted. Basically, what we didn't tell you all, but just technical detail, if you submit after February 23rd, that's when you're subject to the new rules. So there are level ones in the works right now in downtown, but they're kind of subject to the old rules. So you won't be seeing any of those. So it's anything new.
Okay. Thank you, Sasha. Okay. Is there any other business at this time? All right. Hearing none, I will now adjourn the meeting. Thank you for coming. Look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Go outside.